Welcome back, everyone, to the best F1 podcast on the planet. Yes, I said it and I mean it. We are the best F1 podcast on the planet. So if you want to stick around, then click that subscribe button. If you are listening to us or watching us on Spotify or any other audio platform, you can also follow us there. But do make sure that you give us a 5-star rating if you enjoy the podcast, because it really does make a difference to us and we really appreciate it. We love it when you comment. So wherever you are listening or watching, please do comment and get involved. Make sure you subscribe if you're on YouTube. Like the video, and if you want more exclusive content, then I encourage you to head over to BoxBoxPod on Instagram and TikTok, where you'll get weekly, daily exclusive content. We are BoxBox podcast, powered by BoxBox Club. Do check them out. In the link down below, we've got a little discount code for you. So yeah, check that out. It is a little F1 widgets app that will make your phone an F1 hub. You cannot go wrong. Anyway, it's race week, everyone, so let's crack on.
All right, guys, welcome along to a brand new episode. So 2 things before we get started. I've got a brand new mic, handheld, okay? Hopefully...
Well, it's actually the opposite of handheld. It's not handheld.
Hands off.
Hands off, yeah. It's a hands-off mic.
Hopefully it's going to be better, because I know a few people over the last few weeks have said, there's a lot of hissing coming from the audio. That was my fault. That's from my mic. So I can only apologise for that.
Really, you'll know the noise. If you're a long-term listener, that really awful, rubbing noise. Maybe I can recreate it on here. That was where Matt was holding the mic. Not his fault. I'd love to blame him. It was just the mic. And that was just a byproduct of it. But look at that upgrade. I mean, come on. I'm not going to lie, though. I had to hit him in order for him to buy that. You might see his left eye is looking a little bit... I had to do it.
Yeah.
Look, this was for you guys. He's now got a new mic, and you're going to thank me for it.
Yeah. And I want to say, for the people who commented, so yesterday, which was Saturday, just for you guys, this is Sunday, I posted a couple of clips. I filmed some clips to put out, because we try and bring you daily. Well, we do bring you daily content on here. And a few people commented, what is going on with his eye? What is wrong with his eye? And look, basically...
Me included.
And Luke included. You'll notice my, left eye is more red than normal. I suffer from hay fever. Last week, I don't know what happened. All of a sudden, my eye just went bloodshot. And... it looks like I've been in a fight. You should have seen the other guy, right? There wasn't a mark on him. But anyway, welcome along to BoxBox. It is race week. We are back. And this time next week, Luke, I'll be hopefully, if all goes to plan, recording a podcast from Austria.
Yeah, so this is going to be an interesting one, guys. In our pursuit to consistently and regularly bring you the best F1 podcast on the internet and content, Matt is taking his setup all the way to Austria to make sure that we can still bring you a podcast next week. That's
I'm hoping
dedication.
It works. I'm not worried about the actual recording. I'm more worried about getting you the footage.
Yeah, but look, we'll make it work. And I'll tell you what, I think you are in for a very good weekend over in Austria. I think we've got an absolute unforgettable race on our hands.
Yeah. Let's get into some F1 news, shall we? Mercedes are worried. Mercedes technical director James Allison said, Ferrari's updates in Barcelona have significantly reduced the gap between us. The development package they brought was valuable enough to almost eliminate our early season advantage. Mercedes are, look, with the news that they're, the updates that Ferrari are bringing, Mercedes are worried.
Mercedes should be worried for a few reasons, right? Let me break it down. Number one, Mercedes have a definitive reliability issue, right? You cannot hide from that. And that is make or break in a championship battle. For Lewis Hamilton to gain 25 points on Kimi Antonelli, or for George Russell to gain 18 points on Kimi Antonelli, that is massive in a title battle. You go back to 2021 when it was decided by just a few points in the final race of the season. Last season, it came down to the final race. If you've dropped 25 points somewhere along the lines, or 18 points, wow, is that big? But number two, when your main competitor from another team is Sir Lewis Hamilton, you're going to be quaking in your boots. And that's exactly what Mercedes have on their hands. So they should be afraid. They still have the upper hand. Mercedes are going to bring upgrades as well. So I don't think they're in trouble where we're going to see them back with the Aston Martin or the Cadillac. But I think they are rightfully looking over their shoulder now.
Well, Toto Wolff said in an interview a while ago, didn't he, that I'd rather not fight with him. Well, let's just say, I'd rather not fight with Lewis Hamilton for a title because I know what he's capable of. If he smells blood, he goes. And what we saw in Barcelona, and look, like I said in last week's podcast, I'm not getting ahead of myself. It's one race. But everything is looking positive for Ferrari at this moment in time. Everything is looking more positive for Lewis Hamilton. Lewis Hamilton on his day, he can actually, take it to another team. Toto Wolff and Mercedes are definitely worried about this.
But they've also got to be worried about Charles Leclerc. Charles Leclerc is no slouch. Charles is going to be right up there. I've said already, Charles is going to win a race or two this season. He's going to be right in there. Don't make no mistake. Just because he's had a few bad weekends, don't write Charles off. Look, if you're going to put your money on one of the Ferrari boys, if they are genuinely able to compete for a title, I personally think Lewis is the safe bet because he's done it 7 times already. But Charles is no idiot. He will be there making Mercedes' life hell as well. He is going to win. He's going to make Lewis's life difficult. I think the way we look at this is we've got a championship battle on our hands. And I think we're going to see Ferrari and Mercedes go head to head. And it could come down to something as ridiculous as reliability.
Yeah. And that's one thing that Ferrari have absolutely smashed this year so far, is their reliability. The things that have let Mercedes down this year so far is their unreliability. You saw that in Barcelona. You've seen it, in Canada with George Russell. So that's, not only are you worrying about Lewis Hamilton here, you're worrying about your own car. You're worrying about the reliability of it. And when your opponents are, and look, we've said before, the pace was with the Mercedes. If Ferrari now bring that and their reliability, there's a real chance Ferrari could actually turn this around and walk away with this. Because if Mercedes don't get on top of their reliability, that's a concern.
So Matt, I have some big breaking news for you regarding Ferrari. We talk about upgrades all the time. Now, we knew this season was going to be an upgrade battle, but we might be seeing the first ADUO approved power upgrade. So, when we get to Austria, and I quote, Ferrari is expected to be particularly strong in Austria's final sector, where the SF26 stable aerodynamic platform and high downforce characteristics could prove decisive. We know that the Ferrari corners very well. Lando Norris has raised that, but everyone can see that. The Ferrari aerodynamically is the best car on the grid. However, it goes on to say Ferrari will also introduce its first ADUO approved power unit upgrade, with even a small gain potentially helping reduce the gap to Mercedes and Red Bull. This is talking about specifically when it comes to the power. This could be a really terrifying time for Mercedes, because I think coming into this season, particularly after how, the first 5 races went, they might not be pushing on with the upgrade battle in the way that they would have liked to. I don't think we've seen anything significant in terms of development from Mercedes yet. Is that fair to say, do you think?
I think it's fair to say. Look, the only thing I would say is never rule out Mercedes. I think they've started off really strong, and I think they're in a position where they're adjusting, like all teams, to the new regulations very quickly. Each week, each race is a learning curve for them. I think from what I've heard, Mercedes have got like an external company to come in and have a look at their engine to see about the reliability issues. So they're doing a lot of work behind the scenes. It's still very early. Sorry?
It's Quick Fit, isn't it?
It is Quick Fit. It's Dave. No, it was John, wasn't it, from Quick Fit? Good old John's coming from Quick Fit. So it's going to be interesting. It's really going to be interesting. And I suppose the only worry, if you're Ferrari, is it's okay bringing upgrades. But your biggest strength so far this year has been your reliability. By bringing new upgrades, what does that mean for your reliability long term? It's a double-edged sword because, we're sitting here as Ferrari fans and Lewis fans going, yes, they're bringing upgrades. We're going to walk away with it now. But it could completely switch the other way. We could be talking like, McLaren, Mercedes, Aston, not as bad as Aston Martin, but we could be talking about Ferrari having reliability issues over the next few races with these new updates. So it's going to be really interesting to see how they all pan out. But from what we've seen so far in the reports that are coming from Ferrari and other teams, it is looking very positive.
Yeah, it is. But I mean, look, this is a positive for us as F1 fans. Forget about I'm a Ferrari fan, I'm a Mercedes fan. That's irrelevant. As F1 fans, all we've advocated for on this podcast for the last 4 or 5 years was a title battle. Give us a title battle. That's all we want. And we got that last year, finally. And if we get one, this could be an intense battle for the whole season. Like you say, Ferrari need to make sure that these upgrades ensure that they are still reliable. But we might have a title battle on our hands. Like, how good does that feel as F1 fans?
I'm all for it. I am all for it. I'm buzzing for it. I really am buzzing for it. Just touching on Ferrari, because as we know, Carlos... You right there? You right? You good?
Just a little cough. I just wanted to, move away from the mic so if people didn't have to have that right in their ear.
Nice. Carlo Santi, Lewis Hamilton's race engineer, is an interesting point. And I don't know if you know too much about him, because he's obviously been around Ferrari for a long time now. But he was only meant to come in as like an interim, for an interim period. But so far, it's been very positive. The collaboration between Santi and Lewis Hamilton has been really effective. And it doesn't look like that needs to change, does it?
No, well, we know that Lewis Hamilton had a horrible time with his engineers last year, in particular, Riccardo Adami, who we said before is evidently a very, very intelligent guy and extremely good at his job. You don't get to that position by being an idiot or not being very good at your job, right? But it's clear that the relationship dynamic was not working. So, Lewis gave it a season, has made changes. And yeah, you're right. I don't believe he was supposed to be a permanent fixture. I was under the impression that there was someone coming over from McLaren to take that spot. But I think Lewis's relationship seems to be pretty good with his current race engineer. So I think it's something that he'll assess because, like you say, you could have a good first few dates. It doesn't mean you're going to end up marrying the woman, It has to work long term. So I hope it does, because if it's just working, just let it happen. It's nice when things just happen. But it's good to see. Last year was difficult to watch. I mean, Miami in particular, I still have flashbacks to. That was tough.
Well, I don't know if you've seen a lot of the radio messages from Barcelona between Santi and Lewis Hamilton throughout the race, when to box, when to push, where he is, trying to calm Lewis down in certain situations. It's poetry in motion. It just works so well. Like the link up between both of them. He's got that good character of kind of going, this is what you need to do, but also it's all good. You're fine. When Lewis is coming over the radio going, well, where am I? What am I doing? It's all good. These amount of laps left. You're doing good pace. It just seemed to work. And if you're Ferrari at this moment in time, don't change something that isn't broken.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. But I do think ultimately this would come down to Lewis. I mean, I don't think Riccardo Adami lost his position as Lewis's engineer because Ferrari. I think that would have been a request from the driver. So I think if Lewis is happy, he'll stick with him. And I think that's good. But you have to remember, right? Lewis came in to a new team, an Italian team where Lewis doesn't speak the language. There will be cultural barriers. There will be language barriers. And there's also the biggest barrier of, I've got no idea who the hell you are. You know, I can talk to Matt a lot different than I can talk to one of you guys if I just bump into you on the street. And it in quite an intense environment where you really need to hit the ground running with that communication, it's not always going to work out. And I think that's all we saw. Like I say, I feel like Adami got a lot of abuse online. And, you know, maybe I had similar thoughts inside my head. But I think people are so quick to not think about what they say about these people online. You know, this is a very talented bloke that just didn't click with Lewis on the radio. That was all.
Yeah, no, I agree. Carlos Sainz. Is Carlos Sainz...
Has he gone mental?
A bit bitter. Because it sounds like from certain interviews that I am seeing, you know, I've seen interviews about when Lewis Hamilton won. And, you know, the mad thing is Carlos Sainz was the last for Ferrari winner before Lewis Hamilton, which is mental, which is absolutely mad. You know, back in Mexico, he won there. Leclerc hasn't won since. And Lewis Hamilton is the first race winner for Ferrari since Carlos Sainz. So, but Carlos Sainz, struggling in Williams, he seems a bit bitter about everything at the moment, doesn't he?
I know. Can you bring up the quotes? I think it's only fair that we quote this for people. But I think Carlos Sainz has come out with a few things. I did a video the other day where, if you saw, last week, Carlos Sainz came out and essentially said, I've had this idea for F1 where every driver has to do 2 races for each team. And I thought, you would say that in your current situation. I never heard him say that when he was at Ferrari, which, you know, it's obvious. And I get it, because the Carlos Sainz situation, can I just say, if I was Carlos Sainz, I'd be the saltiest bloke on earth. I would be a horrible, horrible man, because he lost his race seat at Ferrari, the iconic Ferrari. Oh my God. You know, he was a young man, probably watching Fernando Alonso race in Ferrari, and he grew up watching Michael Schumacher, because who didn't? He gets the seat and then he loses it through absolutely no fault of his own. Carlos Sainz is a very, very good F1 driver. He's just not Lewis Hamilton, and they were never going to get rid of Charles Leclerc because he's the Ferrari golden boy. So I'd be bitter as hell. I'd be down at Maranello with like a pack of eggs every morning, just lobbing them at the windows, because I'd be fuming that my dream had been ripped away from me and there's nothing I could have done about it. It wasn't like, oh, okay, Carlos, you've got to improve, otherwise that's it, you're gone. It was just like, no, you're doing great, mate, but we're getting Lewis.
Well, Carlos Sainz said, in the end, it shows that this sport has no secrets. He said, I think we all have a very high level of talent, but with different driving characteristics. Some cars suit us, others don't. And that was, he was speaking after Lewis Hamilton won in Barcelona. It can define your entire career. Suddenly join a team with a car that doesn't suit you, and you spend 3 years unable to adapt, or the car never adapts to you and you can look completely useless. Then you move to a team where the car is perfectly suited to your style, and suddenly you look good. You look like a god. This sport is much more complicated than people think.
I don't think that's totally untrue, but it did feel a little bit backhanded, that's all. I think time and place in F1 is vital. Yeah.
This is where I think Carlos Sainz sounds a tiny bit bitter. Okay. He goes, Lewis also deserves a lot of credit for turning things around from last year to this year in the way he has. Okay. So you're thinking, all right, that's quite nice of him there. He's also benefited from the regulation change, because if he had been stuck with last year's car for another 3 years, maybe we wouldn't be seeing the Lewis we're seeing this season. Which again is fair. That last regulations didn't really work for Lewis.
Yeah, but they wouldn't have also been stuck with the same car, would they? I mean, I'm not being funny. You can talk about the regulations not working for Lewis, which I agree with. But if any of those drivers on the grid had Max Verstappen's Red Bull in 2023, they would have won the championship. That's taken nothing away from Max, by the way, because I don't think anyone would have done it quite in that fashion. That was, you know, that's a season for the history books, because of how ruthless and relentless he was with just pumping out win after win. I think it was 10 wins on the bounce he got, which is by far a record. But I think most drivers would have won in that car. I think that's fair to say. So, Lewis wouldn't have had the car that he had last year again this year. Hopefully they would have upgraded it and made it not a piece of shit.
Very true. Right, looking at this season to last season, right, Luke? So DNSs and DNFs compared 2025 compared to 2026. It is staggering, okay? So back in 2025, at this point in time, after 7 races, we had 19 did not start or DNFs, okay? Can you tell me how many we've had so far this season?
What? We've had 6 races. 7. I'm trying to do the math here. I'm going to say 41.
38. So
Wow.
we have had 7 DNSs and the rest have been DNFs. When you look in Barcelona and Monaco, we had 7 DNFs.
In fairness, the majority of those are probably Aston Martin and Cadillac. They're not doing great for numbers, are they?
Or a Mercedes in there as well, and a McLaren.
Which I'd say that's the surprising part, isn't it? That literally the fastest team on the grid is having these issues that are not good. But I think this is normal when we come into new regulations.
Yeah.
I think particularly when we change, as drastically as this. What I'd love to see, if anyone can comment down below, I'd love to see the comparison from 2014.
Ooh. Yeah,
So how many DNFs or DNSs did we have after 7 races in 2014? If you can comment that down below, thanks. I've got nothing to offer you, but other than my thanks.
Quiz time, Luke. All right. We like a quiz on here. So there's 8 drivers on the grid currently who were driving in 2016. I want you to tell me who are those 8 drivers.
Okay. I think I can do this. Well, Lewis.
Yep.
Max.
Yep.
Fernando.
Yep.
Perez.
Yep.
Bottas.
Yep. That's
Okay,
5.
yeah,
3
obviously,
more.
this is where things get a little bit more tricky. Hulkenberg.
Hulkenberg, yeah, that's 6.
So now I've got 2 more.
Yep.
Is 20... Okay, so here are the 3 drivers in my head, and I'm trying to work out if it's too... I think it's too early for Lando Norris. I've got Ocon, I've got Gasly, and I've got... who's the other bloke I was just thinking of? Stroll.
Okay.
I'm going to say Esteban Ocon.
Esteban Ocon is there. 7. You got 1 more.
And I'm going to say...
You get this right, I'll pay 1 month for your mortgage.
Yeah, but you promised me that before and I get it right and I've never seen the cash.
Okay.
Pierre Gasly.
Carlos Sainz.
Oh my God, yeah, of course. Racing with Max at Toro Rosso.
Well done. 7 out of 8. Not bad. Let us know how many you got. Do drop a comment. Right, another little quiz for you, Luke. You can tell that there's been no races there. Got a few little quizzes for you.
Okay,
Most
hit me up.
overtakes so far this season. There's 5 drivers,
Wow.
okay?
Yeah.
I'll give you the numbers and you tell me who the driver is. So, in P1, with 77 overtakes this year, who is it?
I'm feeling like it could be someone like an Ollie Behrman.
No.
I don't think it's any of the front runners with that many overtakes.
Okay.
Okay, if it's not Ollie Behrman, Liam Lawson.
No. I'm giving you 2 guesses per one, okay? It's Max
Okay.
Verstappen. 77 overtakes.
Bloody hell. You see, that guy is unbelievable.
P2 with 54.
Okay. Have I said their name already?
I'm not telling you this. That's not how the game rolls.
Pierre Gasly.
Nope.
Ollie Behrman.
No. Esteban Ocon. P3.
I thought Behrman would have had more overtakes than Ocon.
Yeah. P3 with 50 overtakes.
Ollie Behrman.
No.
Okay. No, I know. Pierre Gasly.
No. Charles Leclerc. P4 with 47. You're absolutely
Okay.
out.
No, I know this one. I know this one. Oscar Piastri.
No.
Okay. Don't tell me. Arvid Lindblad.
No. Carlos Sainz.
This is just an absolute lottery, though. There's no there's no way I would possibly know. There's no way that anyone knows this.
P5 with 47 overtakes.
Pierre Gasly.
No.
Arvid Lindblad. Ollie Behrman.
It is Ollie Behrman. Mate,
1 out of 5.
You didn't get that. That was your third guess. I told you have 2 guesses.
Yeah, but no, you also said before the podcast that I got 3 on the last one.
Yeah, okay. Right. 7 races down. Can you tell me what drivers have completed all laps so far?
Wow, do you know what? I actually think I know this. I think there's only 2 drivers on the grid that have completed 100% of Grand Prix laps this season.
100% would be 436 laps, okay?
Okay, so that will be one Sir Lewis Hamilton.
Correct.
And Pierre Gasly.
No. Lewis Hamilton is the only driver to complete all laps.
I thought Pierre Gasly had as well, to be fair.
Pierre Gasly has only completed 380 laps.
That's like significantly less as well. Well,
Yeah. So your top 3 is Lewis Hamilton, 100%, with 436 laps. P2 is Franco Colapinto with 431 laps. That is an average 98.8% completed. And P3 is Kimi Antonelli with 431 laps as well. Obviously, DNF'd in Barcelona. It's impressive, isn't it? The reliability in that Ferrari.
When did he not complete like one race or like one lap? When did Franco Colapinto not complete one lap? See, Matt is panicking right now because his light's gone out.
What do you mean one? No, he hasn't completed 5 laps, mate.
Oh, sorry, I thought you said it was one lap that he hadn't completed.
No.
But yeah, I mean, look, reliability is going to play a big part in this season because it's new regulations. We've already seen the effect of these. I know we've spoken about them already, but being able to complete every single lap of an F1 race when you're going for a title is absolutely vital. And if you don't understand the sort of magnitude of that, go back and look at some of Lewis's seasons where, I don't know, 2016, 2012, there's some very important moments where you can make or break a championship through reliability.
I agree. Talking of that, so we like to talk about, this. You commenting on our Instagram, TikTok is great because we like to discuss your comments on this podcast. So do send in your questions. Luke has sent in his question. Not you, Luke. Another Luke. Can I just say, by the way, my light went off because I hadn't plugged it in. That would always help. So Luke has said, what's your take on what Crofty and Chancock were discussing, specifically changing 4 race outcomes from Lewis? So 2016 Malaysia engine failure, 2007 Brazil gearbox recovery, 2010 Spain tyre puncture, and 2021 Abu Dhabi. Ultimately, changing these outcomes, he would be an 11-time world winning champion.
And that's the thing. But you can either look at this like a glass half full or a glass half empty. Okay, you could argue that Lewis has been so unlucky, or you could actually say he's won 7 world championships. You know, that requires a little bit of luck in F1 because, again, you need an engine behind you. And the bad luck is just part of it. It works hand in hand. Look, I would love for Lewis to be an 11-time world champion. I mean, bloody hell, I don't think that record would ever get broken. But he's not. And that's just the nature of the game. You know, Kimi Antonelli. Imagine if Kimi Antonelli loses the championship at the end of the season by 1 point and his only DNF was in Barcelona. You'll be saying, wow, that was unlucky. You know, he was 1 DNF away from winning a championship. It is just the nature of the sport. But I'd say it's probably most notable with Lewis because it's happened to him so many times where it has ultimately ended up costing him a world championship. And I don't think it's happened to anyone else as many times as that.
No. Do let us know. Do drop a comment. Luke, I think I have one of my favourite questions to ask you, okay?
Okay.
So, Charles Leclerc, Lewis Hamilton. You had the opportunity now to either see Charles Leclerc's first ever world title with Ferrari, or Lewis Hamilton will get his 9th world title with Ferrari. Which one are you picking?
I wonder. Look, it doesn't matter which side of the spectrum you fall on. No one can argue that Lewis Hamilton winning his 8th, sorry, that was a genuine slip of the tongue. Lewis Hamilton winning his 8th world championship at Ferrari will be the most iconic championship win ever. Charles deserves, after all these years of punishment for having to race for this team, Charles deserves to win something. But you've got to make it happen. And I think realistically, the people would rather see Lewis win. I think you said last week about Lewis winning the race. That was a win for F1. I think Lewis winning his 8th would be a win for F1. Some people will disagree. I hate him. I don't care.
I agree. For me, don't get me wrong, it'd be special to see Charles Leclerc win a world title with Ferrari. For Ferrari? Why can't I say Ferrari properly today? And I suppose it's a bit like him winning in Monaco, wasn't it? That was really special. That was great to see. But nothing would come closer than seeing Lewis Hamilton winning in Ferrari, winning his 8th world title. That would be class. That would be class. Do let us know. Do drop a comment. Which one are you up? Because some people don't want to see that record be broken, do they? Some people don't want to see the record be broken from Michael Schumacher. They want it to stay tied. They don't want to see that. Lewis fans, I'm not just saying that because I'm a Lewis fan that I'd rather see it, but I think it would be great for the sport to have a driver after all these years be an 8-time world champion. That would be special for F1.
The saying goes that records are there to be broken. You know, Lewis would just be setting a new standard. And when the time comes, perhaps someone else can break it in the future. Perhaps Kimi Antonelli, who knows? Or maybe it's someone in the distant future. But I think watching records get broken is what sport is all about.
I agree. Right, this one was a comment on TikTok, and it went, the fact that people are acting as if Leclerc crashing is new is insane. He will never win a title, not even in that Mercedes. He needs to learn how to win races first, then we can talk about a championship. I mean, 8 wins in 8 years, and don't even make an excuse for his cars. He has had great race-winning cars, and where was he? In the wall.
It's difficult to defend Leclerc in certain situations. Do I think that's a harsh take? Yes. I mean, say what you like, but Charles has had some rotten cars. He's not been blessed with, the Michael Schumacher era of Ferrari, has he? I mean, come on. But I agree. I don't think Charles needs to learn how to win races. I think he needs to learn how to win a championship, because winning a championship is more than just winning a race. He has to learn to turn up and keep his head like in the game. He needs to completely iron out these mistakes that he has in him, which he does have too many mistakes. If you're a Leclerc fan and that pisses you off, comment down below all you like, but it's not untrue. And you might be saying, oh, well, you're being so dramatic off the back of like 2 bad weekends. And I would agree to the extent when people are like completely writing Charles off. Like, I think it's stupid to write Charles off. He's super quick. But this is not like a knee-jerk reaction to Charles, and it's like all of a sudden now he's a driver that puts it in the wall. No, this is an accumulation of events over 8 seasons. So I think it's not unfair to say that Charles needs to... He needs to turn up when he can turn up. I don't think that 8 race wins... Yeah, Charles should have more race wins to his name. But I think actually it doesn't help him. He's kind of punished by this terrible conversion rate of pole positions to race wins. But I think actually a lot of the time that car shouldn't have been in pole position. Charles Leclerc was able to do that because he is so exceptional. So I think that's where you have to give him a little bit of grace. But I'm not defending it completely. He should have converted some of those into race wins, because we've seen him lose race wins by putting it in the wall.
Continuing talking about Charles Leclerc, this one was a comment which was talking about Max Verstappen, comparing himself to Charles Leclerc, or Charles Leclerc in the same level as Max Verstappen. The clip I put out on social media, go and check that out. This comment says, all you need to do is imagine if Max was in that Ferrari for 8 years, he would have demanded so many changes of the team to the point that they would have had a championship car by now. Do you want me to reread that one? Because that was a bit
I don't know about you guys at home, but I didn't get a single word of that.
Yeah, sorry, I couldn't really see out of my left eye. Right, so this one says, all you need to do is imagine if Max Verstappen was in that Ferrari for 8 years. He would have demanded so many changes of the team to the point that they would have had a championship car by now.
Well, this is always the tricky thing as bystanders. We are on the outside of the sport looking in. None of us, unless you've worked in F1, then great, please comment down below and enlighten us. None of us truly know the extent of the impact that a driver has on the development of a car or where it goes. And I think we're led to believe that they have quite a big impact. But a lot of that comes from the drivers. These are egotistical men that are in a higher pressure environment where they want to succeed and they want to be the reason they succeed. So they're always going to give themselves more credit than perhaps they're due. But I believe the only reason I disagree with that point is because Max Verstappen would not have stuck around for that shit for so many years. He would have been elsewhere. Charles has probably had his opportunities over the time to go to another team. You're telling me at no point Charles has had an option from McLaren or Red Bull or Mercedes? I think there are possibilities. And I think, if Max was in that position, he would have jumped ship.
Quick question for you, Luke. I know for you listening, this probably just sounds like a Ferrari podcast, and it's really not. But this week, there's just a lot of discussions about Lewis Hamilton, Charles Leclerc, and that. Is Charles Leclerc overrated?
Overrated? Again, I think this is harsh. I think that there's a very harsh assessment of Charles going on online at the moment.
More than there's ever been before, may I just add. I've never seen this much criticism for Charles Leclerc. I mean, Lando could have one bad race and the criticism for Lando would be awful. I've never seen this much criticism for Charles Leclerc.
Yeah, I mean, God, Lando couldn't even, breathe the wrong way without the internet coming down hard on him. And you made a great point last week that Lando Norris never put it in the wall the same amount of times as Charles Leclerc. I think someone commented, and I actually don't know how true this is. Someone commented saying Charles has put it in the wall more times this season than Lando has since 2022. I want someone to verify that for me. But it's almost like Charles has now overcome that point of where he's free from criticism. But this is where I say there's a real fine line between just abusing a driver and criticizing them. And I might be giving us too much credit here. I like to think that we sit on that line where we criticize where reasonable. But like, you can't deny that Charles Leclerc is an unbelievable driver. And I think it would be a tarnish on his name if Lewis Hamilton comes in and wins the World Championship. Naturally, Charles has been there for 8 years. He's the golden boy. If someone then comes in and wins the championship, not him, how's that going to help him sleep at night?
I don't know.
What are people going to say about him then?
Okay, is it if Charles Leclerc lost the World Championship to Lewis Hamilton, that's much more easier to be...
No, that's
to accept, isn't it, surely? Because you're being beaten by a 7-time world champion. It's not like you're being beaten by, for example, Carlos Sainz or, Lance Stroll. You're being beaten by a 7-time world champion.
Yeah, but whether you like it or not, he's a 41, 42-year-old 7-time world champion. And I'm taking nothing away from Lewis here. I'm a Lewis fan. But, like, if Charles Leclerc is all this hype has hyped him up to be, then he shouldn't be losing to Hamilton at this point. Yeah, maybe he should be losing to a 35-year-old Lewis Hamilton. But, if Charles is everything that he is made out to be in the same car, surely it shouldn't be a tight battle. That's what we were always told when we spoke on the podcast, and we said, watch out, because Lewis Hamilton is not going to be an easy customer for Charles Leclerc. And granted, in his first season, we were proved wrong. But now, when it means something, we're kind of being proven right at this point. But I think the response to Charles Leclerc is very over the top at the moment. It's like people all of a sudden are forgetting or acting like he's a shit driver. And he's not. The reason Charles has been at Ferrari for 8 years is not because, they're desperate to keep him because he's Charles Leclerc. They're keeping him because he's good. It's as simple as that. But I do think it will be tough to take if Lewis goes on to win the championship instead of him.
Do let us know. Do drop a comment. Just finishing off on Williams. So this made me laugh. So what's this popped up? So Williams team principal James Vowles is adamant that the British Formula One team will be able to keep hold of Alex Albon and Carlos Sainz for next season, and they would be transparent with him if they said if they wanted to leave. I mean, at this moment in time, if you're Carlos Sainz, you're not going to want to stay. If this is where you're going this year, you are not going to want to stay at the team, surely. Alex Albon would accept it because I think that's the level. I think Alex Albon, that's the level. He would accept it. That'd be fine. Carlos Sainz, on the other hand, I don't think he'll accept it. If this continues all season, he won't want to stay next year.
Where does he go? You know what? The problem that Carlos Sainz has is that, I mean, he's not going back to Ferrari, okay? McLaren aren't going to take him. Mercedes, I mean, they're not going to take him. If they get rid of George Russell, they'll be getting Max Verstappen. That's the only person George Russell would be gone for. Because they're not going to get rid of Kimi Antonelli, which that's sure as hell.
Audi?
So then what?
Audi?
Is that, at this point, is that much more attractive than Williams? That's all I'd say. I love the Audi project, and I think Audi are a sick team, right? And I love Hülkenberg and Bortoleto. But what I'm saying is, if you're talking about Carlos Sainz being at this level, He's not going to go to Audi and be like, yes, I'm free. He's still going to be scraping it into P10.
Aston Martin, if they get their shit together.
Yeah, ifs and buts, Williams, if they get their shit together. It's no different, is it? I think Carlos Sainz's only way out is if his plan about 2 drivers doing 2 races for every team comes to fruition. And it's such a shame because he deserves to be racing at a top team. And hopefully Williams are able to just deliver him a car, because I slightly disagree with your Albon point. I don't think Albon's level is where Williams are at the moment. I think Alex Albon is a good enough race driver to be competing week in, week out. Not on the podium or whatever, but, battling for points every week consistently. He's not a driver that deserves to be at the back of the pack.
I take that back. Sorry, Alex, if you're listening. I apologise for that.
Sorry. He is listening.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Okay, let's talk about Austria. So, FP1 on Friday is 12:30 till 1:30. FP2 is 4 till 5 o'clock. FP3 on Saturday is 11:30 till 12:30, and then qualifying is 3 o'clock till 4 o'clock. And the race on Sunday is 2 o'clock. I'll be honest with you, I'm buzzing. I'm really looking forward to going. I think it's going to be great. And the week after, you're in Silverstone, which is cool as well.
Yeah, so this is why I'll reiterate, make sure you are following us on social media, because there will be on social media. I sound like such an old man when I say that. Follow us on Insta and TikTok, right? Because we will be bringing you exclusive content from the track. Now, I believe I'm in the paddock.
You're the race engineer, aren't you?
Yep, I'm the jack man.
Nice.
So I actually might not be in the paddock. I don't know, but I'm going to be. I'm going to have very good access, I hope, across race day, and it's going to be good. Matt is going to make sure he perches up in a great spot in Austria, so that's why you need to follow us. But
I have my seats are at the top of turn 2. It's at the top of the straight, isn't it?
Which is actually turn 3, because they consider
3.
that little kink turn 2. But
So,
that has got to be the best place to be, surely.
I'm in the stands there. That's where I am in turn 3, into that corner. That's where my seats are.
I think that's going to be one of the best places to be.
So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. And I spoke to Brandon from Full Time Formula the other day. He said we'll catch up. I have a very important question to ask him when I'm out there, because it's a question which we asked him when we were on the podcast last time. He's a massive. He got into sport because of Michael Schumacher. We're obviously Lewis Hamilton fans. I have a bit of a question for him when I'm out there. So stay tuned for all our social media. I'm buzzing for it. And yeah, I try and get as much content as possible. So check out us on Instagram. I'll post on there. But I'm really looking forward to it. I haven't been to a race in ages. Last race I went to was Spa 2024. I saw Lewis Hamilton's last win for Mercedes. Can I see him win in red? I'll be honest with you. I'm just really excited to see him in red. It's going to be actually, it's fine seeing it on the TV, but it's probably the same as you, isn't it? Going to Silverstone. We've seen him in Mercedes. I've even seen him in McLaren. I'm really looking forward to seeing him actually drive a Ferrari live. I know it sounds quite lame.
I have this is going to sound bitter, because it is slightly bitter. I have this horrible feeling that you're going to get to see Lewis win, which is going to be great for you, but I'm going to be jealous. I feel like this weekend could be a good weekend for Ferrari. Although Austria has never been one of his strongest tracks. But just the nature of the track, the upgrades that they're bringing, I feel like, I'm actually expecting a very good weekend from Charles.
Okay, answer me this then, because after your little comment there about you being bitter. Say, for example, okay, you had 2 options. Lewis Hamilton wins this weekend, okay, in Austria. But I see it first, okay? I see it live. But he wins. It helps him in a championship. Absolutely amazing. he actually finishes P4, P5 this weekend in Austria, but he wins in Silverstone, but you get to see it. Which one are you taking?
Obviously the win in Silverstone.
But no. But that means you don't. If by him not winning this weekend, you're more than happy for him to not win this weekend, but you have to wait until Silverstone. But he drops points this weekend.
Yeah, but if he wins this weekend, there's no guarantee he's going to win in Silverstone.
No, he wins in Silverstone as well.
Well, yeah. Well, then I get to see him. Yeah, I'd rather him win both.
But I see it first.
I'm fine with that. It's not that you see it first.
You literally just said you're bitter about it.
No, I'll be bitter that you get to see it and I won't. I'm not sure how that Ferrari is going to be at Silverstone. I think that is a track that heavily favours the Mercedes.
And McLarens.
And the McLarens, yeah. Don't write them off completely. I think, the title's going to be very hard for them, but, they're going to cause problems for Mercedes and Ferrari at points in the season. But we don't know what this engine upgrade is going to look like for Ferrari. We might, I don't know if Mercedes are bringing upgrades. So I think, if I could guarantee that he was going to win at Silverstone, I'd rather that.
Right, that is the end of the podcast. I hope you enjoyed it.
No, it's not.
It's not.
You haven't even given your prediction.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Okay. Lewis P1. Kimi P2. I'm still expecting it to be a difficult weekend for Charles this weekend. I don't know why. Lando P3.
What? Who did you put P2?
Kimi.
Where's George?
He had a difficult start. He's P4.
And then where's Charles?
Well, he had an even difficult start. He crashed up into turn 3 with Isaac Hadjar.
So you think he's not finishing?
There's a chance.
I think we're going to see a strong weekend from Charles Leclerc. I'm actually going to put it out there and say I think Charles is going to win this weekend. I'm going to go Charles, Lewis, Kimi.
So where's George?
P4. Yeah, but I didn't put Lando Norris in the mix.
Very good, very good. Look, did they expect Lando to get P3 in Barcelona? No, he was there, wasn't he?
Yeah, circumstantially, which you love to bring up. But yeah, great weekend for Lando in the end.
Great weekend
They'll
for
be
Lando.
very disappointed.
Great weekend. Love seeing him on the podium. Right. Is that the end of the podcast now?
Now that is the end of the podcast.
Cool. Right. Have a great week. We'll be back next week. And I'll be honest with you, there's a high chance, just saying, the podcast might not be out on time. Would be my fault just because of internet. I'm going to put a disclaimer out there now. If it's out on time, that means everything's been successful and I've been able to record.
What I can guarantee 100% is that there will be an audio podcast out bang on time. I might even bring it out early for you because audio files are very small. Like you could send me that on your phone.
Yeah.
So we will make sure that no matter what, you have an audio podcast to listen to after the Austrian Grand Prix.
And also we can guarantee, Luke's not going to like this, after the race, there'll be a clip up on TikTok and Instagram before we record.
Yeah, you do what you like.
I said Luke will get a clip up. There we go. That is the end of the podcast. Hope you enjoyed it. Have a great week. We'll see you next week. See you later. Bye-bye.